Inflation, recession, and tariffs. Oh my! And Dorothy was never worried about any of that. In fact, she was like most people and had no clue what any of it means. I bet you have seen all three mentioned in the previous months. If you want to be more informed than Dorothy, stick around and we're going to explain it all. And then you can click your heels and head home. Inflation and a recession definitely affect the housing market. Tariffs are another story, and we'll save the best for last. Inflation? Well, it really needs no explanation. We've been living it for the last 4 years. And the Fed said it was temporary in 2021, and maybe 4 years is temporary, but at least we're seeing it go down now. And the goal is 2% increase, and we're almost there. According to the Business Insider, if inflation continues slowing this year, we should see interest rates go down a little bit. Weaker economic growth could also help rates fall. A weaker economy would be a sign of a recession, and the definition of a recession depends on, well, who's in office. And the traditional definition is a negative GDP for 2 consecutive quarters. The COVID recession lasted 2 months into April. So why is it called a recession if it only lasted 2 months and not 2 quarters? Well, coincidentally, COVID started in March and ended in April. March is in the first quarter and April is in the second quarter. In 2021, we had 2 consecutive months of negative growth, and the doomsayers were predicting a recession. But everyone else was saying there's no recession. You can see it here. I think we were headed there, but the government propped up the economy with more spending. It avoided the recession we needed to slow down inflation. And whoever's in the White House wants to get reelected, so they prop up the economy. A little inflation was assumed to be better than a recession, and it didn't quite work out that way. Inflation is caused by too much spending. In the case of 2021, it was caused by trillions spent by Washington to help us recover from the COVID recession. And once we recovered, Washington used it to spend more on their pet projects. More money spent meant more money printed. And if you look closely at the first slide and this one, you'll see the inflation started to slow down when the printing slowed down. Strange how that happens. At least the Treasury stopped printing money so fast. But are we headed towards a recession? Well, no one knows for sure. The big unknown isn't Doge or a war in Ukraine, it's tariffs. And what are tariffs? And why do people say they're bad? And are they? Tariffs are taxes charged on goods imported from other countries. And that's all they are, but it's more complicated than that. The companies that bring the foreign goods into the country pay the tax or tariff to the US government. And typically tariffs are a percentage of product's value. A 20% tariff on Chinese good means a product worth $10 has an additional $2 charge. And the catch is whether firms will choose to pass on some or all of the cost of tariffs to consumers. And this could raise prices on some goods. The reason Trump is implementing some of the tariffs is that the US has typically charged lower tariffs on goods than other countries. His goal is to put it more in balance. This creates a trade balance. Economists fear Trump's new and future tariffs on imports could lead to an increase in the prices consumers pay in the US and around the globe. The goal is to increase manufacturing in the US to avoid tariffs altogether. How it will end? No one knows. One thing to consider is that the US had no federal income tax until 1913. And due to taxation with representation, we voted on it and passed it as a country. But we were promised that most people would pay a maximum of 1% tax. And the super rich would pay no more than 7%. Then government spending exploded. Granted, we had a world war we joined in 1917, but spending never went back down to the pre-16th Amendment spending. And all that sounds interesting, but what does it have to do with real estate? If inflation goes up, then interest rates go up. We saw that about 4 years ago, just not fast enough. And now we're seeing inflation drop slowly and interest rates also dropping equally as slow. Interest rates affect who will buy, and less buyers means less appreciation. Basically, a normal market. Recessions cause people to think prices will go down. But will they? No. Not unless we have a deep recession. And last but not least, tariffs. Tariffs could drive up the cost of building material. So could the rebuilding of Altadena and the Palisades. Trump may be using tariffs to accomplish other goals, and the end result may not be as deep as the fear of them. But fear could cause more damage than the actual event. The truth is, no one knows how tariffs will affect the real estate market. I think interest rates will have the biggest impact. A large demand that outpaces supply will push prices and sales up. Once rates drop significantly, you'll see a small flood of buyers looking for their next home, and for many, their first home. And on that, I feel a little smarter note. That's it for our show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on All the Right Moves with Jeff Moss.